This is Steve Weintraub with Collider. We're here at the Cinema Center in Toronto. I really want to give a huge thank you to Range Rover. They're our sponsor this year, and I really want to thank them for helping us support indie cinema, all sorts of movies here at Toronto. So thank you. And we're here with the fine folks behind The Cut. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
I want to start with congratulations on the movie. I was gonna be like, I think you're gonna have a career. I think you've proven yourself. You know what I mean? I'm just messing around. So listen, everyone watching, no one will have seen it yet, and I hate asking that question, but how have you been describing it to like friends and family?
It's a boxing film from a point of view that hasn't been tackled before. So it's got a very dark psychological edge to it. So we were saying that it's like Conor McGregor checks into the Overlook.
He never got out. He's still there.
That's such an interesting way of describing it. I had not thought about that.
That's good. That's a good description.
Yeah.
It's like an assault on the senses.
Oh, 100%. I am so curious for the three of you. What is it like actually reading a script like this? I won't talk about any of the specifics, but like this is like a hardcore movie at times. You know, what was it like reading the script and for you, Orlando, deciding, I want to put myself through this?
I mean, Mark, our producer, pitched me this idea. We'd worked on a movie a few years ago, Retaliation, and I was like, that sounds really cool as a concept. And then as it sort of came together, I was like, it was leaning more into a sort of genre space, heavily genre in its feel. This idea of like body dysmorphia, the mental and all the things that would go there. But like Sean said, it was like a really fresh take. And when Sean came in and read it, he had just a vision for it, which I think, you know, was something that brought John, who also had an amazing vision for his character, and Caitríona, who just like took so much from what was like on the page and helped to bring the characters together. But it was just, you know, I was like, I wanted to do something transformative in terms of the physicality of something. And, you know, it was actually when you put your body through something like that, it's surprising what comes out in terms of the mental and the physical and the way that it lent into everything that was on the page for Boxer. So I was sort of, yeah.
I remember, well, our agent brought it to me, and he, I read it and I was like, okay, this is wild. Like, this is crazy. But it was also super interesting. And I've always been such a fan of sports films because, you know, sport is usually inherently such a positive thing, right? It's like that kind of goes hand in hand with like, it's healthy, it's positive. Everyone should be doing sports. But this was a take on it that, you know, looked at that obsessive, the dark side and the obsessive side of it, which I thought was really fascinating, and I hadn't seen a movie like it. I hadn't done anything like it before. And I just thought all of the people involved and the kind of journey that Orlando was going to go on, I was like, okay, that could be something really cool to be part of. And it was fun. Yeah,
it was a very original script, you know, and that's what you respond to. You respond to, you know, the material. Very few films talk about what it takes to get there, especially at the end of a career. And so it's, you know, it's an interesting exploration of a person's body and his mind and the people who care about him and the people who push him. And so I'm a fan of everyone's, and I've admired Sean before, and I thought I hadn't seen something like that. And I've seen a lot of boxing movies from the 30s on.
Yeah, I've never seen a boxing movie like this. I give you props for making something completely original. But one of the things I think the film does a really great job of is basically exploring what it takes to be great, like in a no bullshit way. You know, like this is a unvarnished look at what a boxer might do. Can you sort of talk about how much do you think what takes place in the film, and maybe, you know, how much do you think is this really going on, and how, you know what I mean, and how much is this complete dramatic license?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's based on fact and how these boxers, what they have to do in order to make the weight. So there's a lot of research that went into that. So it is based on fact in that sense. But I think obviously it's we dramatize it, and obviously we're making a movie, so we've probably pushed it a lot further than, for that experience.
Sure. There is a fantastic shot in the film. It's you close up, slow motion. You like the muscles are going. There's like some blood. You know what I'm obviously talking about. Can you talk about, because that's going to be in the trailer, I'm sure of it. So like, talk about that specific shot and what you wanted to accomplish with it.
The idea was to have these kind of vignettes that actually preluded to the actual fight. So, and they sometimes say to a professional athlete, to visualize the motions, to visualize the actual, and that if you visualize it enough, it will come into fruition. So that's these ideas that he's pre-playing the fight. But I think when you get to the end, you realize that probably you were watching the fight. So you've been watching flash forwards in that sense. And we did those with a very, very high speed photosonic camera and a very, very long lens, which squashes the perspective down. So it gave this shot this just incredibly intimate and graphic feel at a speed that's so slow motion that it seems like time has stopped.
What was your reaction when you actually saw that shot? Because the muscles are going on the neck, like it's a cool shot.
Yeah, I mean, this man with the camera on his shoulder, like I'm prepping for the movie and he's sending videos of running 25 miles because he's got the lenses and cameras all about him, doing it all from behind the camera whilst directing. But he is a master of lenses coming from photography and everything else, and knowing what would work. And I just was like, I've never seen a shot look like that in some ways. I mean, it was so like Odes of Raging Bull and the way that it looked. And I was like, wait, is that me? It's one of those things. And I mean, there was another amazing shot where you had the pill where there was a split lens, was it?
Split diopter, yeah.
And and there were just so many in the movie. There were just so many ways in which he was utilizing the lens and the camera to make what was essentially a space about as big as this, this that we were filming in for the majority of the movie, interesting, entertaining, and like take that story forward. And I thought that was just like phenomenal. It was like, sorry, my. I thought I handed it to somebody.
Couch is vibrating.
I heard it.
Oh God! So, and that's me. Yeah. So that was the amazing. That was Sean as a director, but like, what he can do with that, and that was really, And we had 25 days to shoot the movie. We had 25 days to shoot the movie. We shot it in reverse chronological order. So, it was...
How the F did you do that? That's crazy.
Well, Orlando had to turn up at his lightest weight. And that was because when you're losing that much weight, you can't function. Your brain is starved of calories. There's no way that you can even remember your lines at that point. And so he got to us at his lightest. So we shot the ending of the movie first, and then he started to eat. And so he was putting the weight on as we were filming backwards until we got to the end, and we shot the beginning of the movie at the end. So it was a very big Rubik's Cube that we needed to figure out.
First of all, holy F. And second of all, I feel for you. Like, oh my God, because not only are you having to act, you are also, your body's screaming at you.
Yeah. It was weird because losing the weight going into it was really brutal, like the carrot, but like actually, and you made a comment, John, earlier about a movie where you have to just suddenly, when you're gorging food, it's just like your body's just stripped away. And
yeah,
you're
I was a little worried, actually, I have to say, because I've done stuff and I was a little worried when I was watching him. I was like, I hope he just has enough to be okay, because I've been in these situations and it takes a lot.
Yeah, it's not pretend. This is like real life.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's actually happening to him.
And also then, being so deprived of food and all of that, but then also half of your acting is working out, and he would just be like, we have to go again. You're like on that treadmill or you're on the rowing machine and you're just absolutely fucked. I mean, it was crazy to watch.
That first week, I just remember we'd call cut, and Orlando would just be collapsed on the floor, and he would just lie there until we were ready to go again, and then he would sort of get up and he would get himself pumped up again, and then he would go again, and then we'd say cut, and he was the energy, and you were crazy kind of. He was angry and paranoid as well, because he was so deprived of any calories, and so we had to really support him and help him get to that point where then he was putting weight back on and he was starting to bulk up again, and then his brain was, I don't really know how he kept it all together emotionally, in the sense of the character. Like, where were you if you're shooting something in chronological reverse order? I sometimes struggle with actors that come up and say to me, what are we doing here? And you're shooting it in normal order, but in reverse chronological order, you had to work out where he was in the part backwards.
Yeah.
So
you must have been a completely different person to everyone on like the last few days of filming. You must have been in such a better mood. Yeah. And like, do you know what I mean?
He was just sitting around eating cake, having ice cream.
Just lapping it up. It was, I was so grateful to these guys, particularly, the relationship. John would sit next to in the makeup chair, and I would just be like, and he was so generous and loving, actually, with the way that he saw me and what I was trying to do and what he knew the character needed and stuff. And he actually told me, he was like, this is a love story. And I was like, and we said this quite early on when I was in a real sort of head spin, and it's sort of like this love triangle, and Caitríona, who just like took what was on the page and just made this relationship like they will never let go of each other. We felt like it was like she was like the mother I should have had, and we're clinging to each other. You can feel the history of the relationship because of the performances that they were bringing, and it was so supported by the crew and Sean putting up with my hangriness and paranoia, my hangriness and my paranoia. But it was definitely like it was sort of like some kind of weird torture chamber, and I was like, wait,
oh no, this wasn't one of those, we're in Hawaii, let's have some fun. This is like this is going for it.
No, somebody 3 days in the row last night, it's the first time I saw it on a big screen, and a lady passed out. She literally, like, I think it was like, and I asked, and apparently she was in the ambulance, which was okay. She came around, she was like, what happened, sort of thing. But yeah, it was wild. That's how intense this movie was. I was like, that's crazy.
I have to ask you an individual question. You're very good at not blinking when you are exactly like
the lizard.
You are so good at, like, there's some intense, exactly. There's some intense stuff with you, especially with you or in Orlando, or just in general.
Still not blinked. Still not blinked.
And what's funny is you can just turn it on. So how long did it take you to master this? Because
years.
Right. Because it is like a lot of people.
Well, when you first start out acting in a movie, if you come from the stage, it's like you go to the dentist office, like the camera's that close and you think it's the enemy. And, there were some good DPs who helped me when I was young. They, to make friends with the person behind the camera. In this case, we had the director who had the camera. So that becomes it. You become much closer to that. But it is there's things we all learn, not to move as much. I did a movie years ago with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I remember doing something to him, and I said, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, what did you say? Like, I'm going to destroy you right now. But he did this slow turn, and I just was like, it's so unnatural. But I thought, well, it kind of works for Arnold. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I almost started laughing. But it's about being able to be still. And all of us have to, some people move more than others, and you just have to be aware of that. That's all.
I'm just giving you props. I'm already almost out of time, so I just have to ask, like, if you don't mind, I got to work in some stuff. I'm a huge fan of Severance, and I know that you recently filmed the second season. For fans, what can you tease?
I'm not allowed to speak, otherwise I'll be severed. So I think it'll be really interesting. I think there's a lot of real interesting stuff for people who are, really like the show. And it definitely takes a step forward and shows the other side of the characters.
I honestly can't wait. I do have an individual question for you, if you don't mind. You're coming to the end. I think you're almost done filming a show that's been a part of your life for, I don't know, 10 years, 11 years?
11 years, yeah.
Yeah. What is it like to be coming to the end of this chapter? And what was it like reading that final script?
It's wild. It's wild coming to the end. I feel every emotion possible, sometimes all at the same time. We had our 100th episode the other day. So we had a big moment for that. It's been amazing. This show has given me so much, and it's going to be really sad to say goodbye to it, but it's also kind of exciting to sort of move on to the next stage. The last script, I don't think any of us have read the full script. I think they're still keeping parts of it to themselves until the very day that we film it. So it's kind of interesting. I can't give any spoilers because I don't know.
I think no fan wants to know what's going to happen. They want to watch it. You know what I mean? You two clearly work well together. So my last question for the two of you is, when are you working again together?
Ooh. I don't know. Hope so.
Yeah, love to.
Find something.
Yeah, It was such a get when Sean called Mark and said he liked the script, because I'd been a fan of his anyway, and it was so I'd run to it. It'd be great. We just got to find the right thing.
Surfer movie in Hawaii.
Yeah, something that involves eating.
Listen, I have so much more I want to talk about, but the truth is it'll be easier once it's coming out and we can talk about specifics.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of things in this movie that we have not talked about. I will say it like that. You know what I mean? Anyway, listen, I really want to say congrats on being part of the Toronto Film Festival. And thank you for stopping by the Collider studio.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Delighted to be here.